Good afternoon, and welcome to the CUSO Registry training webinar. I'm Lisa Dolan, a Program Officer in NCUA's Office of Examination and Insurance, or E&I. With me today, I have Scott Neat, Director of Supervision in E&I, as well as Jenny Phillips, a Risk Management Officer in E&I. Also joining us is John Szanski, who is an analyst in our Office of National Examination and Supervision, or WANS. And last but not least, we have Taylor Hope, who works with our Office of Chief Information Officer. Taylor will be leading the demonstration portion of this presentation. Later in this webinar, Jackie Ross, who also works with us in E&I, will be reading the questions you send in during our time together. Several of you already emailed questions to us in advance, and we really appreciate that. If you do have a question as we move through this demonstration, please use the Submit Question box in the lower half of the webinar console. But first, we want to make sure you can see and hear the webcast clearly. So we have three tips for you. Tip number one, make sure you allow pop-ups from this website. Tip number two, if your display is not clear, set your screen resolution to at least 1024 by 768. While we do have a couple of slides for this webinar, the presentation is primarily a live demonstration with screen sharing. We'll try to make that transition from slides to screen sharing as smooth as possible. Finally, tip number three, if your sound is too low, make sure your volume is turned all the way up, both on your computer and on the webinar console. During our time together today, we'll briefly talk about the background of the registry and the types of CUSO filers we have. Then I'll hand it over to Taylor, who will walk us through the live demonstration. Taylor will show you how to register a CUSO for basic, expanded, and corporate CUSO filers, how to use schema to easily import large credit union customer or owner lists, and how to manage your CUSO account, including adding and deleting users. As you know, in November of 2013, the NCUA board approved changes to rules affecting the relationship between federally insured credit unions and CUSOs. These changes, among other things, required CUSOs to agree in writing to provide information directly to NCUA. Changes to corporate credit union rules in May of 2015 applied the same reporting conditions to CUSOs owned by corporate credit unions. For reporting purposes, the CUSO rule identifies two types of CUSO reporters. We have CUSOs that we consider basic reporters, and we have expanded reporters. Expanded reporters are identified in the rule as offering complex or high-risk services, which include credit and lending services, IS&T services, and custody, safekeeping, and investment management services for credit unions. You will see in the demonstration that the expanded reporters will provide additional information regarding volume of activity, and that's primarily for those CUSOs involved in lending or trust or safekeeping services. Expanded reporters will provide a little more detail regarding the services they provide to their credit union customers, and they will also provide audited financial statement information. The table I'm about to show you will demonstrate what the basic and expanding reported categories look like. Basic reporters provide general information like your legal name, your address, your phone number, your website, and things of that nature, services, and information related to owners and credit union clients. Expanded reporters, as I mentioned, provide a little more detail about services they provide to their credit union clients and additional information related to volume for trust, safekeeping, and lending services. Finally, you'll see here in green that we have an item exclusively for CUSOs owned by corporate credit unions. These CUSOs have the ability to upload additional documents as required by WUNS. We'll show you what that looks like as Taylor demonstrates the screens that appear when a user indicates that they are owned by a corporate credit union or a corporate credit union's CUSO. Since we're on that topic, I want to point out that there is a question near the beginning of the registration process that asks if your CUSO is owned by a corporate credit union. If you answer that question with a yes, you will receive the Corporate Credit Union CUSO's list of approved services, which vary slightly from those that can be offered by CUSOs owned by natural person credit unions. A yes answer will also populate the screen that allows you to upload the optional corporate CUSO documents. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen this question answered erroneously, so be sure to pay close attention to that as you begin to register your CUSO. With that, I'll hand it over to Taylor to begin the demonstration. Bear with us a minute while we start the screen sharing process.
All right, thanks, Lisa. As Lisa mentioned earlier, my name is Taylor Hope. I'm from the Office of the Chief Information Officer. I'm going to show you a demonstration of the application. I'm going to start with screening, and then I'm going to proceed towards registration and show the variations between a natural person CUSO, corporate CUSO, and then the differences between a basic and expanded reporter. So this is the main screen that we're going to be on. I'm first going to select that I do not have an account. I'm going to register my CUSO. Now, because this is a webcast, there is some delay between my actions and when they appear on the screen. So I will be going a little bit slower just to demonstrate how the functionality works. Up next is the screening questions. Here I'm going to just indicate the name of my organization and answer the 3 screening questions provided. For these 3 questions, I'm just going to go ahead and answer yes for demonstration purposes. And when finished, clicking continue. Now I'm going to enter in my information for my CUSO. Again, I'm going to use just fake information for the time being, since this is demonstration purposes and we're on a test environment. As mentioned before, there is a question, does a corporate CU or corporate CU's CUSO have an investment in your organization? I'm answering no to this question, and this is going to identify me in the system as a natural person CUSO. Most of this information is fairly straightforward. I'm going to enter in optional information on my organization, such as a phone number, email, and website. Here I'm going to enter in the CEO of my organization as well. And finally, we've arrived at the last step of screening, where we establish our account. And by establishing our account, this is also going to tie our account to the CUSO we're just creating now. You'll understand that when I log into my account, what that means. So here we can indicate that our CEO has the same, the information provided here is the same as my CEO. I'm going to make some quick modifications. You enter in also 2 security questions to be added for your account. It's important that you obviously note the answers to your security questions in case you forget your password in the future. Considering you're going to be coming in once a year, this is probably something you definitely want to jot down. When finished, you click Continue. And at this point, I've now on the confirmation page. The confirmation page has indicated that I'm going to be receiving an email to validate my account. And it's also going to provide a link so I can log in with that account and proceed to the registration. If you do not have an EIN that's stored in our database, you may receive an additional screen where it asks you to provide some additional information so that NCUA can contact someone to verify the EIN you've entered belongs to your organization. So I've had on the back end someone already verify my email for this purpose. I'm going to log into my new account now. So listed here is my CUSO that I just went through screening with. It indicates up here that I have not completed registration. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my CUSO now to register and certify and submit. This is the general information page. Everything we entered through screening has been transcribed to this page, along with a few additional questions we have to answer before continuing forward. Those 3 being if we're a subsidiary CUSO, the date of our organization, and if we're regulated by any other agencies. After finished, click Continue. And one note to mention is that every time you're clicking Continue, your information is saving. So if you are going to take a break or move away from the application, it's a good idea to click the Save Now button on the left side. Or if you know all your information is complete, just click Continue to the next page and the information will save. So listed on the screen here are the services provided by my CUSO or possible services. This is a natural person service list. All the services listed here. I'm just going to just click a few of these to demonstrate the differences between the 2. As mentioned before, we have basic reporters and expanded reporters. The key note here is that any service with a little icon next to it indicates it's an expanded service or complex service. And if you select these services, you'll be considered an expanded reporter. So I want to demonstrate the differences between selecting basic services and expanded services to show how the system interprets the 2. Right now, we'll just list one service that our CUSO offers, and I'll go to the next page. This is not considered a complex service. As you notice, I'm now at the customer screen. The customer screen is where I indicate the credit unions that I serve. I can click on the charter insurance number, and as soon as I type a number, this number, a drop-down will appear. These are all validated credit unions in the database. By selecting one of these credit unions, their name will automatically appear. You may also just start typing in a credit union, and the name and charter insurance number will also be filled in for you automatically. The one big difference I want to mention here is that the loan and investment checkboxes, all you have to do is indicate if the credit union customer has a loan or an investment in your CUSO simply by clicking the checkbox or just leaving it unchecked, indicating it does not. So I'm going to continue registering as a basic reporter, but before certifying and submitting, I'm going to go back, make some edits, and I will select additional services so you can see what it looks like from an expanded reporter. So as you note here, the owner section has been filled in with the credit union I've selected, and the reason why it's on the owner's list is because I've indicated previously that this credit union also has an investment in my organization, so therefore it's considered an owner. An investment is $1 or more, which is why the investment and loan amounts each have $1. I've selected both. So I'll go ahead and indicate 100% ownership. I'll be demonstrating these pages further, but I at least want to show the differences between expanded and basic reporters first. At this point, I can go ahead and certify and submit as a basic reporter. So simply just selecting the services, indicating the loan investments for the credit union customers, and then the owners, and then certifying, submitting. But before doing so, I want to go back and start showing you some additional functionality that you may take advantage of throughout the system, especially if you're going to be an expanded reporter. I'm going to go ahead and make my screen a little bit larger so people can see easier. So going back to this, I'm going to select some different services to demonstrate the expanded reporter function within the system. I'm going to select two different types of complex services to demonstrate the differences between the two within the system. So I'll select safekeeping and also electronic income tax filing. Afterwards, I'm going to go to the next page and clicking continue. And you'll see now on the left side of the screen, as well as on my screen here, that I now have a new page. And this is the additional service information page. This is triggered because I selected safekeeping, and a few other services as well, such as business lending services, will require you to enter in additional information regarding your loans, and for safekeeping, the assets under management. So I'm going to enter in some random data here. Click continue. Now we're at the customer list again, but there's two important differences that happened here. We have the credit union customers now has a loan amount and investment out fields to enter in an actual value, and also safekeeping and electronic income tax filing have been entered on the side, where I can check a checkbox for each credit union customer. What this means is that for each customer I list, the system is asking which services you offer to that customer. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add some additional customers on the application view here, and then I'm going to demonstrate the import and export functionality. So after I've entered a few customers here, I'm going to go ahead and export. Bear with me one moment as I open the export. So this is what we refer to as a customer list or a customer schema. It's exported all the information I previously indicated. And here I can enter in additional credit union customers just by entering the charter insurance number and credit union name, saving it, then re-importing it so all this information transcribes properly within the application. One kind of tip here when using this schema is that as long as you know the charter insurance number, you do not have to be 100% accurate with the name. And the reason why is because the charter insurance number will pull, the correct charter insurance number will pull the name from the database and fill it in for you. So for example, I could forget the name of the credit union here and just call it credit union. I'm going to indicate a loan and investment amount. And then I'm going to indicate yes, yes to both services. Another important note is that in order for this to upload to work properly, every field needs to be filled in. There is a schema quick guide on the application under the support drop-down link that will provide further guidance on using this. After finish, you want to go ahead and save by going to File, Save, Control-S, or clicking the icon at the top. I'm going to close this now. I'm going to go to the Import button at the top. I'm going to upload my customer list now. So here we can see that the additional changes I made have been transcribed onto the application, and also the new credit union that I entered has been entered. As mentioned before, I didn't know the name, but it transcribed the proper name into the application. After you're finished, click Continue. As noted before, credit unions that have an investment indicated will also be transcribed to the owner's list. The owners list has additional functionality where you can provide owners other than credit unions. An example of this is by clicking Add Another Owner, selecting the type, then clicking either bank, business, CUSO, or other. We'll go ahead and add a bank here. Depending on which type of owner is selected, a certain number is required. The user manual indicates which numbers to provide, but also if you just look in the parentheses, it'll tell you. So a bank will provide an FDIC and a business will provide an EIN. Now I'm going to show just what it looks like to export the owner list and how you can use that. So the owner list exports all my information that I used previously. I'm going to add some additional information here. I know that a business requires an EIN, so I'm going to go ahead and just put in 9 digits for the associated number, put in business for the type, and I give the business name. There is also a quick guide on using this schema to provide further guidance on how to enter information quickly and without any errors. You can ignore the city and state columns unless you indicate an other owner. For this purpose, I won't be indicating any other owners. Put in one more owner for this purpose. Go ahead and save when finished. And now you want to import. Now everything is matched up. If you happen to have any errors on your import, you will receive an error, and it will make you correct it before coming back trying to re-import the list. Everything looks good here. The most important feature is that you will not be able to go past the next page, go to the next page until you enter in 100% ownership. Go ahead and click Continue. Now this is the financial information page. As Lisa mentioned earlier and as demonstrated earlier, this page was not previously there as a basic reporter, but because I've entered complex services, this page is now generated for my complex CUSO, and I must enter the information here before continuing. So we'll just start filling out the fields here. Make sure that your total assets equal total liabilities plus total equity before continuing. To upload your financial statement, just click the Select File button. It's going to be PDF only, and the maximum size of your financial statement is 15 megs. So that gets tagged with a name according to your the registry number that you received when you started your CUSO, and just the name of the file. You can click Continue here. And at this point, you're ready to certify and submit. But before doing so, I just want to highlight that you can click this hyperlink here, which will allow you to export your information into an Excel spreadsheet. So everything you've entered through the system so far will be exported when you click this. This is also available in another portion of the application, but I just want to mention it here as well. Click the I certify that the information provided is correct and accurate after you've read the statements. Click Certify and Submit. And at this point, you're considered registered. You have your what's called the CUSO details page here. It's a read-only version where you can kind of go throughout the application and figure out what you've entered. You can click Amend this CUSO to enter additional information, and I'll show that shortly. But I also want to mention that you can download your CUSO details again here. But before doing what we call amendment, I want to go back and show you a little bit of the support tab as you go throughout the process, and also I want to show you how to register a new CUSO with your existing account. So a good way to do this is to just click List of CUSOs, or just click the icon up here for the NCUA CUSO Registry. Both those hyperlinks will get you back to the main page. So as you've probably noticed throughout the demonstration, the top has this support drop-down right here. Here you can get your general FAQs, the instructions, system user manual, guidance on the schemas or templates, a link to the training resources page, which goes directly to ncua.gov, which contains a lot of information for helping you get throughout the registry, and also quick guides. Majority of these links, depending which ones you selected, will pop up a separate PDF in this manner. So you don't have to worry about having your progress halted. You can simply keep this open in the background and continue working on your registration. So going back to what we consider the CUSO homepage, I want to start a new registration, but quickly go through it since you've now seen the most of the functionality in the application. But I want to show a corporate CUSO. I want to show how to register a new CUSO with an existing account. So when you log in, you create a new CUSO by going to Register New CUSO, and you're presented with the same screening questions as before. We're going to answer the questions again. We're going to enter in EINs. We're going to answer, most importantly, yes. So does a corporate CU or corporate CU's CUSO have an investment in your organization? I'm going to quickly go throughout this information since you've already seen this. And that's ready to click Continue, and you'll be presented with the Services page. Now, what may not be apparent from initial view right now is actually the services presented here are what we call the corporate CUSO services. They look very similar to the natural person, but there are some changes. Once you have identified that you have an investment from a corporate CUSO or a corporate CU, you will have this page presented to you. But aside from that, the services being slightly different from a natural person CUSO, the application functions the same. Select your services that are applicable to your CUSO, click Continue, and fill in additional information if necessary, or if applicable, sorry. So I selected a few services. Again, they've generated on the right side of the screen. Because I'm zoomed in on my browser, it's looking a little bit differently right now. But I've heard it's been a bit hard to see from this webcast at the moment. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through this since we've already gone over this completely. Now, one thing I want to mention on the financial information page that is different for the corporate CUSOs is that financial information is always required in the sense of your audited financial statements. That page will always spawn regardless of the services you've chosen. But more importantly is all the optional documents you may upload. Here, you simply select next to the appropriate title, the select files, and upload the appropriate document. And see, there's a lot of different areas to upload. I'm going to finish filling the fields, and I'll just upload some sample documents. I do want to make one correction earlier, is that you may actually, instead of uploading an audited financial statement, you can, for corporate CUSOs as well as natural person CUSOs, if you don't have your financial statements at the time of your registration, you may click, I do not have audited financial statements, and then simply provide a reason why. The system will allow you to continue and register. And when you have those audited financial statements, you can come in the system at a later time to upload them. So I will indicate that for this purpose of demonstration. Then I'm going to go ahead and upload just a few files. And as you can see, they've been tagged and they're uploaded. If I need to, I can also erase them as well. When finished, we click Continue. And now we are at the same screen as before, the Certify and Submit. We simply click Yes, I certify and submit the information is accurate. So now we're at registered status. You can also see that we're considered a corporate. We can go back to our list of CUSOs at this point and see that I have 2 CUSOs registered so far under my existing account. So we're going to go back to our original NCUA test CUSO and show a couple different pieces of functionality. The one being what we call the amendment feature. Simply click on the CUSO you wish to amend when you're already in registered status. And it's going to look very similar to what you've already previously done. It will present to you a page, list of different areas to modify. Simply modify, click on Update next to the area you want to change. You're going to be presented with the screen you've already looked at. You can make changes here, remove them, whatever you want to do. Go ahead and click Continue. And go throughout the application as you have previously, filling in the additional information until when you get all the way to when you're finished, go all the way at the end to Certify and Submit, or continue from each page if you need to make additional changes. Click Yes, I certify that my information is accurate and current. And then you're good to go. And that amendment is now completed. So lastly, the other thing I want to touch on is what we kind of call the CUSO administrator. It's the management of your CUSO. So the tabs listed here show all the information that you've entered in so far. But more importantly is the Account Users tab at the end. When we first created this CUSO, we are tagged as what's called a CUSO administrator. That means we can modify data, but most importantly, we can control which users can access our CUSO and which users are removed. So as you can see here, I'm the only CUSO administrator here, but let's say I have a coworker that also needs to have access to my CUSO and help me manage my CUSO. Simply click the Add User to this CUSO button, and you have really one of 2 options. If they are not in the system yet, you can simply enter their name and their first and last name, their email, and then indicate the role you want to give them. If they're not in the system, they'll be invited through an email to create an account, and once they're finished, they'll be tied to this CUSO. So I'm just going to put in a random address to show you the difference. I'm going to select from one of 3 roles. CUSO Viewer means they have only view-only access. They can only read the data. They can't modify it. CUSO Contributor means they can modify the data of the CUSO. CUSO Admin means they can modify the data and also control who accesses the CUSO and if they can add additional roles. We'll make the individual contributor. Because this user's email does not exist in the system, it will automatically understand that it needs to send that user a new email to create an account and to log into the system. If the user already exists in the system, simply enter in the email address of their CUSO account, CUSO Registry account, and they'll be added into your system automatically. Here we can see this is a pending user that I just added. Again, I can remove them if need be. And as a CUSO admin, I just remove that user and I can add them again if they would like to join my CUSO. And at that point, this concludes the demonstration. I do want to note that if you run into any issues, that the contact button at the top right, by clicking this, will provide you 2 contact areas, one of them being OCIO. If you have any technical issues, contact OCIO. If you have any policy-related issues or questions about whether your CUSO needs to register or not, contact E&I. You can either call them or you can email them. Thank you for joining. I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Taylor. So I know we've had several questions come in while we've had the demonstration going on, and we have had a few that came in prior to the webinar. So I'm going to ask Jackie if she will read us some of those questions so maybe we can get those answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, we got a lot of questions from both corporates and natural person CUSO, so we have a good representation on the line today. One of the first things that I'd like to address is it looks like some people had some issues with audio or video. Today's event is going to be available on demand, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So those of you that had those issues, hopefully you'll be able to view the event on demand, and that'll take care of those issues, and we're going to answer your questions now. So if you haven't submitted questions, please feel free to do so. One of the first questions that came up is who exactly enters this information? I have a question from somebody saying, I'm the owner. Is it my responsibility to enter this information?
That's a good question. So with the creation of the CUSO Registry, we are moving from the CU Online reporting of information about CUSOs by credit unions. So the CUSO Registry was created so that the CUSOs themselves, who are in the best position to provide us information, reports that information. So I know that there are CUSOs out there that are wholly owned by their credit union, and so in that case, the credit union owner would be filing that information. They would be designating someone in the credit union who probably acts as staff in the CUSO for the CUSO itself to register them. But we have gotten questions about large CUSOs who have their own management, and we've gotten questions from the owners who said, I'm a credit union, I'm a partial owner, do I go in and register? And the answer in that scenario is no. That credit union, that CUSO itself will come in and get credentialed and register and provide all that information.
Great. And can we repeat the link to the CUSO Registry? A couple of folks have asked where exactly to find the registry. We want to make sure that they have that information handy.
Right. Let me tell you, the easiest way to do it is to go to NCUA.gov and choose I am a CUSO. I want to register with NCUA. And you will land on our CUSO Registry homepage. There's a lot of information there that you'll find helpful, particularly if you scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's instructions, quick guides, FAQs, and those are the exact same documents that live within the registry itself. On that page, there's a link that says Go to Registry. And that way, you don't have to memorize what the link for the registry is. Just remember, if you search as a CUSO on our website, you can find it there.
Great. And there's lots of support information and instructions available from the CUSO Registry page as well, right?
That's right. Right. You can be within the application under that support tab. Again, instructions, FAQs, quick guides, things of that nature that are replicated on that NCUA.gov CUSO page.
Great. I also have some questions from folks who are curious about which kinds of CUSOs or what the status of CUSOs are that have to register. One of our questions is, if I'm a subsidiary of a CUSO and not a credit union, do I have to register?
Subsidiaries do fall within the regulatory realm to register. So we have credit unions that create CUSOs. Those entities register. And then we have CUSOs that have kind of subsidiaries underneath them. If those subsidiaries are primarily involved in providing services to credit unions or credit union members, then the answer is yes, they are supposed to register.
And what about dormant CUSOs? I have a question saying, I'm a dormant CUSO. Do I have to register?
And the key to that is whether or not the credit union has a loan or investment to that dormant CUSO. Because, I mean, people use the word dormant in several ways. Some still have assets on the book. They're not really doing a lot of business or not doing any business, but they still have an outstanding loan or investment from the credit union, and in that case, they would register. If you're talking about just a shell company that has no assets but still has an EIN, is still, a true corporation or partnership, then no, that it would not need to register.
Great. So you took care of a couple of questions that came in that way. That was great. Let's look at some corporate questions. How does a corporate CUSO submit their required reports?
So we'll let John Sazansky with one take that one.
previously, annual and quarterly reports were submitted via email or regular mail, but now they'll be submitted right through the CUSO Registry.
Great. And either a natural person or a corporate CUSO might have more than one administrator. One of the questions is, can we have more than one? I think we touched on that, but just want to confirm.
Yes, actually we recommend you have more than one so that you have a backup, without a doubt.
Great. So many questions. I'm trying to scroll through and make sure I give everybody equal access here. Let's see, I have a CUSO that's wholly owned, but the credit union and the CUSO and the credit union financials are consolidated. How do they report to NCUA? Do they need to change that because of this?
No. So the rule allows for an audit, a financial audit on the consolidated balance sheet. So the credit union and the CUSO's consolidated financials are audited, and that is sufficient for the audit. We do ask that when you go to the registry, if you have to upload your audit, we ask that you provide the CUSO's standalone financial statements if you have those. We would like for you to upload those standalone. That doesn't mean you still have to have a standalone audit on those financial statements, but we're interested in seeing the performance of the CUSO independent of the credit union.
John, I have another question from a corporate CUSO. Under what circumstances should a CUSO designate their organization as a corporate?
To the question, does a corporate credit union have an investment in your organization, which is found in the EIN and general information screen, you should select yes only if a corporate credit union or a corporate CUSO has any ownership interest in your CUSO. Lisa mentioned earlier in the presentation that there had been some inaccurate registration of CUSOs, and I think you want to be sure you're answering the question right, and in the long run it's going to save you time by answering the question correctly so that you don't have to make an amended registration.
Right, and I would just note that if you do answer the question incorrectly, then you will receive the corporate services list, and that is not going to be the right list for you. So if you do amend that answer, you need to go to your services page and make sure that the services information is accurate.
There's a question here about how does the CUSO determine, or how does the credit union determine if a CUSO has any investment interest in our organization? It's question 2 in the screening questions that they're referring to. So if they haven't made any investments in the CUSO, is the answer to that no?
Probably. I mean, if there are not funds placed from the credit union into the CUSO, right, then the answer would be no, even if it's $1.
Okay, good to know. A question here says, is the CUSO required to submit audited financial statements? I have a CUSO here that's 100% owned by one credit union, and the credit union includes their financials, the CUSO's financials, in their audited consolidated statements.
Right. I think we answered that a little earlier, that it doesn't affect the audit. The audit of the consolidated is fine, but we ask that you upload the CUSO's portion, right, that reflects the CUSO operations, financial statements that reflect the CUSO operations, independent of the credit union, if you have those. And I just we had several questions, I know, that came in about my audit isn't complete yet, right? And I'm not going to have it back before the March 31st deadline. What do I do? And in those cases, we ask that you fill out that the information, the date, the auditor, and the financial information. Click I don't have audited financial statements, and provide the explanation as to why you don't have them to upload, and then come back in when you have them, go through the amendment process that Taylor showed you, and add them when you have them available to add. One thing I also wanted to note is that if you accidentally upload the wrong file in that particular, the select files, and you get the wrong one, you can just re-upload, and it will replace the file that's there. You can also delete it. There's a little X. But if you accidentally do that, there is a way to recover.
Lisa's reading through these questions as fast as I am. Those are just answered a couple of other questions that were submitted by CUSO, so hopefully that will help people feel more comfortable with the system. I have a number of questions related to the place where you enter the CEO name of the CUSO, and folks are saying, I don't have a CEO. What do I put there?
Right. We actually got a call on that last week, and I understand that there might be smaller CUSOs that don't have a formal CEO or someone that goes by that title. We ask that you put a primary point of contact, whoever is responsible for kind of the day-to-day operations of that CUSO in the CEO name. And we're going to be updating the instructions to make sure that that's clear.
Great. I have a CUSO that wants to know, the walkthrough that you did, Taylor, was really helpful because folks actually got to see the different fields that they have to enter information in. And one of those fields is the charter or insurance number. They wanted to know where they could find that information so they could enter it.
So the system, right, will automatically, if you know the name of the CUSO, the system will populate the charter number for you. You'll get a drop down of the CUSO's the credit union's name, and you can choose the credit union, and it will add that charter number. We also have a quick guide on how to find charter numbers, and in our what we call our FOIA tables from Credit Union Online, we have that information posted on our website, and it will lead you through. If you need to look up a lot of credit union charter numbers, that's probably going to be your best bet. So if you go to the support tab under quick guides, you can find the quick guide for finding the charter number.
Great. I have a number of questions from CUSOs that have multiple owners. So I'm going to read this question, but maybe we can sort of think about it in a broader context. We have 3 CUSOs as owners of our CUSO. What kind of identifying number is required for a CUSO as an owner? And I also have some questions from folks saying we have a CUSO that owns another CUSO. How do I report those? So a number of questions about the identities and how folks report.
Okay, and that depends, right? So I'm assuming we're talking about reporting them on the Owners tab. That's the relationship I kind of heard from that question. And you would report their EIN. So if a CUSO owns you, if you're a subsidiary CUSO, which means you have a parent that is a CUSO, then you're going to put their EIN into that number field, the associated number field. And you'll have to get that from that owner or parent CUSO. They should be able to provide that for you.
Great. As I'm scrolling through these questions, it looks like we've answered quite a few of them. I'm trying to find some that are topics that will be helpful for folks on the phone. How often do CUSOs need to update the registry, and are they going to get a reminder when they need to update?
Yes, registration will occur February 1st through March 31st of every year, and it is an annual registration period. If you are on record, so right, if you are in the system in this year, right, in 2016, at the end of the year, we'll be sending out a reminder that the CUSO registration period will begin in February, and then we will also get another reminder. If you're midway through the process and you forget, you'll get another reminder that the registration period is open. So those are system-generated notices, but we'll also be providing some communications out in a broader sense through our PACA office about the registration, and I'm sure we'll have a button on our homepage in 2017 for the registry period being open.
I see it coming our way.
Right.
I see it coming CUSO's way. If a credit union has an investment in a CUSO, is there a way that the credit union can verify that a CUSO is registered?
The CUSO should be able to provide a registry number. We will also have a public search function that will open mid-year this year, so you can go in and search a CUSO, see what services it offers, and get some basic contact information for them. And those that are registered in the system, certified and submitted, provided all the information, will show up in that search result. So that will be another kind of step that credit unions can go and look beyond getting just the registry number. I would also say that we have, in the screen that Taylor showed about the CUSO's information, we asked for the CUSO's website, phone number, and email address. And under that title, it says this information is optional. And that would be the information we would use if someone contacted us and said, how do we contact this credit union? That would be the information we would use. It would also be the information that would be displayed in a search result. So if you've if you've already registered and you've got a personal, like, work email address in there that you don't kind of want a lot of calls on.
So you might want to make sure they're putting their public information in that place.
That is supposed to be, a very public contact piece of information.
Right, and the good news is you can always go back and make an amendment like Taylor showed us.
Absolutely.
This is a good time to point out the deadline for CUSOs to register by, so folks don't worry that they're registering late.
Right. The deadline for registration is March 31st, and as I mentioned, it will be March 31st of each year. You'll have 60 days to register and get all your information in. Great. So it's looking like a lot of these questions have been duplicated at this point. We got some questions from the corporates and the natural person. I do want to remind everybody that all of those support materials are available on the CUSO Registry website. So if you haven't heard or seen us sort of cover the information you need, make sure you check those documents online, the how-to guides, the quick tips that have been provided, and you can always give feedback to NCUA using the information that Taylor provided. Absolutely. We did get a couple of questions about whether or not we can you can download the slides, and the answer is yes. They're in the bottom console. I think it's an orange button. It's under Resources, and it's green. Sorry. Resource list, and you can download the slides. There's a hyperlink to download the slides. If you do have additional questions, if there are things that we didn't cover, I looked through the questions too, and the questions seem to have the same flavor. If we did not answer your question specifically, feel free to reach out to us. The dedicated CUSO email box is CUSO Registry at ncua.gov. As Taylor mentioned, if you have questions or problems with the system, or you have any issues importing or want some technical assistance to walk through that, the phone number for that is 1-800-827-3255. And if you have any additional policy questions, you don't want to email, you want to call us, you can reach us at 800-827-6282. And the extension for the Office of Examination and Insurance is 6360. And with that, I think we're done. I appreciate all of you joining us today. Thanks to all of you guys here in the room, and to Taylor for helping, Jackie for reading the questions. John, thank you for answering our corporate questions. And a special thanks to Franz Aiento from our IT department, who has been working with On24 for the presentation. Again, thank you, and have an awesome afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to the CUSO Registry Training Webinar. I'm Lisa Dolan, a Program Officer in NCUA's Office of Examination and Insurance, or E&I. With me today, I have Scott Neat, Director of Supervision in E&I, as well as Jenny Phillips, a Risk Management Officer in E&I. Also joining us is John Szanski, who is an analyst in our Office of